Ray, how do you say your last name?
Stasieczko.
Stasieczko.
That's pretty good.
I'm just going to stick with Ray, with the host of The End of the Day with Ray. I've been following you for quite a while, and I've always really been fascinated with your view on the market. And I think I describe it as you follow the business of printing, and I'm following more the volumes of printing. So I'm really thinking more about those people that make money from printing, using printing equipment to sell as a service. And so we kind of come at it from different points of view. I recently spoke to a friend that's out in the marketplace, and he said, "Oh, yeah, they're asking. They want to know what's up with their vendors, what's the future going to look like." So, how should those that make money selling printing be thinking about their vendor relationships? That's my question.
I think everybody needs to start thinking about the damn end users of the products themselves and focus on them and where they're going and quit trying to drag outdated processes to the future. And so
Yeah.
I agree with you. When I look at some of the OEMs and even some of our dealer friends, they're all trying to figure out how to take our outdated processes and just drive forward to the future. It's just insanity to me. And all successful industries eventually become disrupted.
Right.
And when they're
Right.
disrupted is it's their critical point. And I think the print channel, the OEMs themselves, I really thought that they have to be a lot smarter than the end of the day with Ray doing a podcast. Okay. And I'm at a point now where I don't know what the hell they're doing, to be honest with you. They should have
Yeah.
consolidated a long time ago and they're not.
Yeah.
They should have figured out, you had Rico start up Etra. Kudos to them trying to consolidate some manufacturing. You got my friends at Kyocera that have phenomenal inkjet technology at that production space. They need to move that through all their MFPs.
Yeah.
You got Epson, who could have been a major disruptor with inkjet, wiping out laser. And there's a lot of reasons for that we can go into. But I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just kind of like, oh, if we could fit in, we'll be happy. So everybody seems like they're in shock. They're trying to fit into the status quo. They don't want to disrupt something. And quite honestly, Andy, you know it as well as I do, people in our industry are, I probably can't say the really bad word, but they're just wimps. We have a lot of wimps. They're afraid. I mean, how many emails I get or in-mails through LinkedIn? Oh, Ray, that's a great message. Well, I'm like, why don't you tell the whole world that? Why don't you chime in the comments? If more people talked about this shit, maybe we'd actually get some movement. I think a lot of people, especially the younger folks, I used to think the millennials were going to be the big disruptors, but I'm thinking it's the generation that comes after them. I'm thinking the millennials probably got a little bit too cozy to the baby boomers, but the generation after them doesn't give a flying shit about the baby boomers, quite honestly, and their outdated processes. And so I think in the next 15 years, we're going to see some major disruptions across all industries, let alone the print.
No, but I mean, it's the reason I guess I think about print in my practice is for that reason, is because I think it is an industry being disrupted. It's one that I think people can understand. It's one that's just tangible to most people. And so talking about digital transformation in the context of what's happening in the printing industry, I think is one of the easier ways for folks to figure this out because they experience it in their daily lives. At least from my perspective, the stuff that I cover, which is customer communications, your mailbox, or at least what used to show up in your mailbox, I should say. I think when I think about the industry, I think about it from a value perspective, or excuse me, from a volume perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And what's real interesting is when I talk about some of the indicators I see in the market space, the conversation always switches back to the value of print. The problem in the industry is volume, right? It's volume that drives the whole ecosystem. It's not the value of print. The fact the volume of print might actually be going up. It's the volume that's the thing that's going to really crater the industry, at least on the customer communication side, as I see it. So that's what's really fascinating to me. I often wonder, as these companies that are so dependent on print and mill revenue, as they're making decisions about buying a big piece of hardware to put on the floor, what should they be thinking about? Because I think intuitively people know that consolidation in the big OEM space is going to occur. At least
I
that's
think they
my.
have to think about how to disrupt them damn selves. So the reality of it is, if you look at the graphics industrial print space, I really
Yeah.
love going to Print United. I mean, it's a great venue, but what
Yeah.
I notice about those venues is, are they selling themselves or are they selling the damn end users?
Yeah.
They run around at these shows and they convince themselves how great and how important they are. But at the end of the day, what does their customers say to them? And it's
Yeah,
not that print's going to all go away. It's going to change
exactly.
drastically in how it's consumed. I mean,
Right,
here's a crazy example. And I said this, I was at a mail show last year. And, my comment to them was for the people that do direct mail,
right.
promotional mail. Why the hell can't Amazon print on the fly and put it right in the box when they mail you something? They
Yep,
could buy the same list that a mailer could buy, but think about this. If I just had to print a QR code on my box that I bought from the pet store or wherever the hell the pet store is for my dog, and I know that if someone is going to buy a $25 coat or $50 coat for their dog, they probably give some money to the SPCA. So why don't I just go ahead and put a QR code there where someone could take their iPhone when they get their package and it'll
yep,
show a little video of a dog crying and please give me some money. So
yep.
I really believe that we can get to the end user in different ways. And I'm not too sure. And I know there's a lot of talk about embellishment, but at the end of the day, you still got to get it in the mailbox for someone to look at it to read. And I don't know if that's the future. When I went to a
Yeah,
hotel one time overseas, Andy, and they have on the pillar, instead of having a poster, they had a digital screen that was about as thick as a sheet of paper that they
yeah,
could change on the fly for every convention that walks down those hallways.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
looking at consuming the information, and let's be honest, we consume more information behind glass than we ever have before. What the graphics communication people, in my opinion, forgot was why they're called graphics communications.
yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
medium,
Yeah, well, speaking of, did you hear that last week RIT shut down their graphics program? Everything is that's left is going to be consolidated under the packaging program. So it was kind of an interesting thing that came out of RIT, and most people would consider as the leading place to get educated in this space, and they're kind of shrugging their shoulders, going, nobody wants to do this anymore.
our industry just, we get so excited because we have some new widget and or some new feature, some new advantage we believe, but we don't really, I don't believe we focus enough on those end users because we don't want to
Yeah,
hear what they have to say. And, we lose a customer. Do we go ask them why we lost them? Do we find out that the print shop that was printing millions and millions of maybe, let's say, insurance cards that went in people's wallets, and that insurance
yeah,
company said, we're not doing that shit anymore. We're going to do it in a digital platform. They're getting an app on their phone. We're done. We had a surge in the production print space when the industrial print space started to really reduce in volumes. And I think the whole industry got excited about the fact that now we could sell, the Konica Minolta webs and the Ricoh web presses,
right,
all this
right,
crazy
right,
stuff. They're all excited. We're going to be in industrial print. But what they all forgot was the only reason they're there is because the volumes dropped. And they didn't
right.
need to buy the $5 million Heidelberg anymore. They were buying
Yeah,
all the stuff that was cheaper. They throw it in the trash when they're done with it. But
yeah,
what they all
yeah.
forgot was that the volumes are declining. They didn't stop declining because they're still declining. So we
Yeah,
have an oversaturation in the marketplace, number one. I think the graphics is probably worse than the business print space from that perspective. And we have everybody trying to fight to save what they know instead of
yeah,
trying to fight to create where they need to go.
yeah,
It's just whether it's in business print or whether it's in the graphics print
yeah,
space. There are some niches. There's some
yeah.
volume increases, like I said, because volumes are declining. That's probably what's given Rizzo a lot of their impact in the
Right. Yeah.
marketplace.
Yeah. Great
But
platform.
but we have to figure out that if we're a graphics communication business, what does that mean to the end user, and how are they consuming that graphic information? And can we control that and monetize that if we don't print it? And most
Yeah.
people just can't get their head around that.
Yeah, and that fundamentally, you just summed up what I'm trying to do with Treeline Research is to answer that question. How do we make money in this transformation? What does that look like? What does a print service provider become when it doesn't print anything anymore?
Well, you think about the Print United, go back to that show. Who are we bringing to that show? We're bringing end users that are probably already going to buy something, and the sales rep talked them into going to Atlanta or wherever the show's going to be, and we're going to give them a discount. These are processes that take years to buy. And but why don't we put together venues where we actually bring in real end users, where
Yeah.
we have educational seminars, not for us to educate the end users, but for the end users to educate us, because we
Yep.
don't want to hear what they're going to say.
Yeah.
But if we heard what they were going to say, maybe we could realize, holy shit, I have all this customer base. I
Yep.
understand how to communicate through lists because, the
Yeah.
graphics communication understands these lists and how to solicit based on those lists. But that doesn't mean that they can't change the way the end user consumes that information.
Yeah.
And, the packaging thing, I kind of laugh at that because, you're familiar with the mail stuff. So we could take a inserter.
Yeah.
We can shove 5 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper into an envelope.
Yeah.
We can run these things at 200 pages a minute, 300 pages a minute, 500 pages a minute. They don't even misfeed. And then we could spray on the fly the address, and it could be all different colors and all different logos.
Nice.
So why can't we have a manufacturing company that puts something in a box and it's just going to inkjet spray that box, whatever the hell they want it to spray? I think that the inkjet technology will be attached to manufacturing equipment that packages.
I 100% agree with you. I don't know if you've heard recently, but Washington Post reported that Amazon was going to start to step away from its relationship with the Postal Service for the last mile, and it's $6 billion, a year. Postal Service's biggest customer saying, do our own thing. And I wrote about what sort of that. It's like, okay, you think about it, that's another $6 billion losses for the Postal Service, right? And what I'm trying to get to is I think the whole idea of putting stuff in the parcels and packages is the future of direct mail, right? It's not just going to be sprayed on the box, it'll be in the box. And sort of wrote about that. And people are like, I don't get it. And I'm like, well, of course you don't get it, because it's not a model you can even wrap your head around.
That's what I was sharing with those guys in Texas last year at that mail show. But I don't believe it's not even going to be a printed document in the box. It's going to be a freaking QR code. It's going to be a way to invite them.
It's going to be a digital experience. It's going to take them digital experience.
Bring them to that digital world. I mean, can you imagine you open up your box? Like I said, would be some local advertisers that would want to, some local beauticians or hair care places that want to have a QR code in that box. Hey, come visit us, and someone doing a little video. So we're going to move from as good as embellishment is, it's not video.
Right.
And we already have video. We already have it where it can jump right out of the screen. Looks like a plane's flying out of your screen and all that stuff. Right. So all those things are coming, and it's not going to be printed.
Well, and what do people open first, right? The parcel or the letter, right? They're going to open the package.
Mm-hmm.
And you think about yesterday, I ordered something from Amazon at 4:30, and at 9 o'clock, it was on my doorstep.
Yep.
They could have put anything in that box or printed anything on that box.
I think,
it's not just, you don't have to wait for it to go through the stream. It literally shows up.
Oh, yeah. But more importantly, what you're envisioning is the same thing I'm envisioning, is that the absolute ability to advertise precisely at what the customer wants to see. They can't wait to get their package because they know on the package they're going to get some kind of a video, if you will, that helps them get a better experience from something else from Amazon.
Right.
So I think, I always say that advertising is getting so good that we're going to welcome it. When we welcome it, but still, who the hell wants to go to their mailbox? I mean, this is just
but what you just described is going to be a fundamental shift in business model and revenue for the industry.
Oh yeah, so that's what I'm saying. The graphic communications people have to remember what they are. They're graphics communication people.
They're going to sit in a line at a warehouse somewhere.
Well, currently they're doing it through mail, but in the future it could be they're doing it through video.
Hey, so what do you think about some of the new stuff? Just here in Colorado recently, there's some new laws that have been enacted around recycling. The producer environmental stuff reporting now in Colorado, where if you ship stuff into the state of Colorado, there's new requirements around recycling. How do you see regulation sort of impacting some of this stuff? Because recently I just said to somebody, I said, look, you want the choice for consumers to choose print, but you don't want to give them the choice to opt out of print. And so our mailboxes are turning into what I call basically the dumping ground of the print and mailing industry. Consumers have zero choice in that. What do you think about that?
I think the zero choice is really
regulators.
changing.
I guess my point is regulators are going to step in if the industry doesn't figure it out.
I don't think it'll
think
take regulators.
Right.
Here, we don't give a shit. I mean, seriously, no one cares about saving the environment or any of that nonsense. I mean, we talk about it, but they just don't. They put, it's all about how much
think about
money
how much. Everyone, the only reason I go to my mailbox is to empty it. It's like, that's kind of sad.
I think it goes back to what I was saying. I think it's the generational thing. I mean, if you're a 30-year-old executive, you're not going to the freaking mailbox. I mean, seriously, you're not even waiting. I mean, think about the old guys like me. You're in the business and you can't wait for your customers to send in their checks. You got a
right.
whole process thing to
It's
get
got to
all
be
that
real
stuff
time right
delivered
now.
to the
Yeah.
bank and all that crazy shit.
Yeah.
And today you don't even do that.
No, it's real time. It's got to happen right
It's
now,
all
right?
going into the bank. It's all wire transfer. And so, I think the younger generation will opt out. But I will tell you, our bank literally told us that it's going to be like $4 per month to get a statement in the mail. And you can go online and opt out, or we're going to charge you $4 every month. So it was kind of very interesting because it forced you to go online, number one, because why would you want to spend $4 for nothing?
Right.
And you just do it. But
Yep.
seriously,
If you want it, I have no problem if you want to pay for it. I think.
yeah, I think that the marketplace itself will do that. The federal government recently, I think it was last year, made an announcement that the Fed's going to send no more checks. And so I think when the government starts saying they're not going to send any more checks, then the banks are going to say, well, that's fantastic. And they will, and they are. You're going to see the companies themselves at the enterprise space just make these decisions for the end users. They'll when they do it, though, the end users that their future relies on is ready for that change.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. The people that are,
That's really fascinating.
70 years old are going to be dead. It doesn't matter. And even, even the 70 and 80-year-olds. I mean, how many 70 or 80-year-olds I'm seeing on their iPhones and stuff.
Yeah.
When you travel, you're sitting next to the guy on the airplane.
So how old was a 75-year-old when the first PCs came out? You think about it. They were in their 20s. I mean, that's been part of their life for a long time.
When I do a presentation, I'll ask this question sometimes. So you got an audience, 40-year-olds, and I'll ask them, how old do you think I was the first time I got on a computer? And they'll just look, and you'll get answers like, oh, I don't know, 20. And I say, well, actually, I was 42.
Really?
I was 42 years old the first time I used a computer, and I'm 65. So at the end of the day, you're right. But I will tell you, my mother's 93. She's on this damn computer. So, and she does her bank online and all this kind of stuff. We can all do it when we're forced to, or if we see a better way, or we get a better experience.
Right.
Our industry, and it's in the graphic space too, was built on service platforms, and we became obsessed with our great service. And what we forgot was to be obsessed with the customer experience.
Right.
And right now, the customer experience is they don't want your service.
Yeah.
They want to have an experience that eliminates service.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to do that is through this digital landscape.
Yeah.
So I just think if people don't start figuring out how to monetize the decline in print profitably, number one.
I always say is, look, hey, these communications are not going to disappear. They're going to go just find another place to live. And that's the piece that I think a lot of people get confused they get confused on two things. One, they think there's a revenue equivalent between a printed piece and something digital, right? So if you lose this, you down one of these, up one of these, and the math will never work in terms of the price differential.
Well, they're missing the cost factor. If
Right.
I'm printing something, look at the infrastructure I need for that. If I want to become the greatest producer, if you will, of graphics communication that lives behind glass, and I want to change my business model, and in the meantime, I want to milk the cow till there's no more milk on the print model, but I want to make sure I have a team in place that understands how to build this digital platforms, this video stuff.
Yeah.
There's a massive future in that. Does it shift? Maybe it does shift. Maybe the future advertising agencies that got into video and graphic communications through video end up controlling that whole industry. They won't take a client that wants something printed. They'll say, well, look, we don't do that shit. If you want to do with us, this is how we do it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, look at Facebook and what did I just see where YouTube is now doing some big sports thing that the whole world is changing drastically.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube is a massive
about it.
channel. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, even what I'm doing for what you do, I mean, what I do, I started this thing, I'm in my 9th year,
Well,
doing videos on YouTube. If this technology would have existed, 40 years ago, it'd be awesome, but it didn't. But here we are today.
Before you go, I would be remiss if I did not bring up AI, right? Everybody seems to have their point of view on AI, where we are, where we're going, what its impact is going to be. What's your spiel on AI?
I think for the industry, there's two plays. If you look at the business print industry, I think they're all out of their freaking minds. We've taken AI and we took a buzzword and we're going to spend all this money. Let's go to this consultant and let's bring in these lunatics that used to be a managed print services consultant and now they're an AI consultant. And all.
I know.
What we need to do, and I've said this to our industry for a long time now, about 2.5, 3 years. What you need to do is go hire a data expert in your business, someone that understands data, and clean your damn data. AI is just going to take your data and digest it and allow you to extrapolate what you want out of it in a way that you couldn't even have imagined because AI is smarter than us. But if you don't have the right data, it's irrelevant. I think we took our eye off the ball. AI, first of all, you got some morons out there trying to come up with their own AI platforms. It's like, what in the hell? There's billion-dollar corporations that are going to do AI a lot better than Joe Schmuckatelli.
I mean,
it's all about the data.
I would say it's about, the way I think of it is documents, knowledge, and data. And I think if you don't have a good grip on that, your AI is kind of going to be.
Well, when you think about documents, this is another thing I think our industry is completely out of their minds on. There's no document that wasn't born in the computer, for Christ's sakes. I mean, seriously. I don't know if I could say that.
Yeah.
When you think about this, I mean, what the hell are we talking about? At the end of the day, all that stuff's already in the computer. That's your data. That's why you need a data expert that's going to look at your data. It's not about a damn document. It's about data and how we mine data. And AI is the miner of our data. But AI is, when you go to a gas station and you have 3 choices.
Yeah.
You got regular, medium, and super. And AI is the same way. So let's take the super as being a perfect data. Super.
Yep.
The medium grade is a combination of perfect and regular.
Yeah.
So it's ambiguous. And then, of course, regular is just whatever the hell's out there, and it could be all nonsense. And so if we don't have our data clean and our data is not accurate, we're going to be doing things with AI that could actually be detrimental to our business, not helpful to our business. It's just ridiculous.
Yep. No, the first thing I say when I'm on a panel when we're talking about AI is I raise my hand and say, I am not an AI expert.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you what I think it means, but I'm not an AI.
It all has to do with your data. And if they don't have clean data, AI is not going to do anything for them. And the industry's wasted a lot of time. I mean, you have probably these massive graphics production facilities that have millions of dollars worth of equipment, that they have all this data, but they probably have outdated systems.
Oh, yeah.
Their license is probably not even accurate or current. It's probably a hodgepodge mess. And if they hired a data expert, first of all, if you hire a data expert today, they're going to have that experience for AI. So they're going to know what they need to do with the data for AI to benefit you.
Right.
But they'll start looking at their data and they're going to see things that the company can't even see. And this is the caution. If the industry takes AI and does the same thing with it, trying to drag the past to the future, it's not going to work.
Right.
Because AI is about trying to bring a better experience. So the data might say, you know what, you should shut down those 4 presses because it's irrelevant. It's costing you a fortune.
No.
And they're going to say, no, that's not true.
No, I mean, this is probably one of my biggest pet peeves before we go, and that is how the print industry talks about itself. And the term "print is not dead" should be banished forever, for eternity. I cringe every time I hear it because it's like the industry just screaming out in agony. Like, it's so obvious to everybody except the industry what's going on.
Well,
but it's sort of like, if you don't, I literally before Drupa last year had somebody in the industry reach out to me and say, you're the problem. Basically, you need to get on the board and you need to be positive about this industry because you're the problem with I'm like, wow.
I always tell people, because they'll say that to me, they'll say, you're Mr. Negative, blah, blah, blah. Why can't you be positive? I'll say, well, the positive is do the opposite of what the hell I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But here's what I'll say. The reason that people want to say print isn't dead is because those two things are uncomprehendable to most brains. You can't imagine that all of a sudden you're going to wake up tomorrow and there's going to be nothing printed. It's about a decline in output, as you just said in the beginning of
volume.
When the decline in output in the volume is at a point where you can't monetize it, that's a freaking problem. That means the industry's in trouble. Just like nobody wanted to go to Blockbuster anymore. They wanted to use Netflix. They wanted to subscribe.
Right. There's still opportunity for the people that are smart, right?
Absolutely. You got to learn how to make money on the decline. In business print, it's all about inkjet. We got a retirement apocalypse coming with technicians. I mean, they're all average age is like 60 years old. So they got to do something to get equipment that has less service. So there's still ways to make money. But at the end of the day, no matter whether you're in business print or in graphics print, you have to focus on what are you really in the business of, bringing structured to unstructured information. That's the reality. Is that structure going to be through video? Is that structure going to be different in business? Of course it is. And, the people that want to the industry does a great job selling themselves, or the consultant that'll stand up in front of 1,000 print people at a big convention and spend a minute and a half or 2 minutes talking about the importance of print. And they're a software provider or something. Ray was here, and I don't think print's going away. It's going to be here forever.
Yeah, but, no, and they're right. And that's, but it's going to change, and the revenue is going to change with it, and the margins. So that's, people just have to pay attention.
Eventually, Andy, we'll start seeing graphics communications houses do what we're saying, and they'll start going to these meetings, and you'll start seeing them talk about video production and all this other stuff. They're talking about putting, structured, unstructured information to give an experience to the end user in the way that the customer wants. The SPCA doesn't give a flying shit how that person goes on their website and gives them money. They don't care.
They
don't care how they get there. What they care about is the cost to get them there.
Yeah, for sure.
And if the cost to get them there is a tenth of what it is for a printed piece of information, trust me, they're going to switch. And right now, interesting times ahead, but it's always fun talking about it, and we should do this again sometime.
So what are your predictions for 26? Quick, you got to tell me, because everybody does right now.
Well, I think
what are your top 3 for next year?
2026 is going to be a pretty disruptive year. We should see some OEMs having some shakeups in the print business space. It doesn't really matter in the graphic space. If those OEMs are also manufacturing print equipment for businesses and they get pressure, then they don't have any money to support the industrial and the production. We'll probably see some industrial print players just go away. You got Landa Digital Printing and the fiasco they went through and all that stuff. So we're going to see more of that. We're going to see pressure. The biggest thing I believe it will happen in 2026, early 2027 at the latest, we're going to see the money look at our industry in a whole different way. It's just like even with Xerox, my friends at Xerox, they get a lot of crap, but if everybody had to go to Wall Street every quarter, they'd get a lot of crap too. But they're trying to reinvent a 100-year-old print company. And at the end of the day, that's a struggle on Wall Street.
As they say, that dog don't hunt.
It's a hard road to hoe. So you're going to see the pressure put on from a financial perspective, and private equity.
I'm supremely fascinated by that particular topic. And I agree. It's the engine right now that is driving innovation. And if we lose that private equity, it's going to be a challenge, I think. But there's going to be winners in that too. Those that do figure it out. So I think that's the upside of that. So.
It's just, you got to figure out how to throw away the bad and not be afraid to do it, to move on. And you can't be dragging the past to the future. It's just not going to work.
No, I love that, man. That's a great way to wrap it up, because let's not drag it into 2026, huh? No, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Be good. It's always fun, and let's do it again sometime. I'll have you on my show.
Absolutely.
See you later. Bye-bye. You too, Andrew.
Bye.
Bye-bye.